Imagine standing at the edge of the world. Not today's world with its warm cities and glowing screens, but a world wrapped in silence, where the wind carries the taste of ice, where frost beneath your feet never melts, and where the sky hangs low and grey, as if the sun itself has forgotten how to shine. This is the Great Freeze, 25,000 years ago. The air is so cold it burns your lungs with each breath. Your fingers ache even wrapped in animal hide. All around you stretches an endless landscape of white, broken only by dark mountain shapes and the occasional skeleton of a frozen tree. This wasn't just a harsh winter. This was an ice age that lasted thousands of years, so brutal it tested every living thing on Earth. For the humans who lived through it, our early ancestors with only the most basic tools and knowledge, survival seemed almost impossible. Here's the haunting truth: 99% of them didn't make it. Out of every 100 people alive during the Great Freeze, only one survived to see the other side. Entire families, entire tribes, simply vanished into the ice, leaving nothing but scattered bones and abandoned caves. But some made it through. Against all odds, a handful of humans not only survived, but thrived in conditions that would kill most of us within hours today. What was their secret? What did these survivors know that the others didn't? And where did 99% of early humans go during this frozen apocalypse? The Great Freeze began gradually, like a predator circling its prey. Summers became shorter, winters stretched longer. Year by year, ice sheets marched south, covering forests and grasslands, turning rivers into solid highways of ice. Imagine watching your world slowly disappear. The hunting grounds where your father tracked deer, now buried under 10 feet of snow. The berry bushes your grandmother taught you to harvest, frozen solid. The caves that sheltered generations, now icicle tombs too cold for human life. Some tribes moved south following the warmth, but warm lands were already occupied and resources were scarce everywhere. Competition became fierce, deadly. Others tried to stay, to adapt. They had to become completely different people, learning skills their ancestors never needed, developing technologies that had never existed before. Most failed, but the ones who succeeded, those rare survivors, they're the reason you and I exist today. Every single person alive right now descends from them. We carry their resilience in our blood, their ingenuity in our genes, their stubbornness in our souls. What made them different? Why did they survive when so many others perished? That's what we're about to discover. We'll walk in their footsteps through the endless winter. We'll sit with them in their firelit caves. We'll face the same terrible choices they faced and marvel at the solutions they discovered. This isn't just ancient history. This is the story of how humanity learned to survive anything. And in a world that seems more uncertain every day, maybe their lessons matter more than ever. The wind is picking up now. The temperature is dropping. Night is coming. And in the Ice Age, night was when the real dangers emerged. Are you ready to discover how our ancestors made it through the darkness? Chapter 2. The Day the Sun Disappeared. There's a theory among some scientists that the Great Freeze didn't begin gradually at all. Some believe there was a specific moment, a triggering event that plunged the world into chaos. Imagine you're a human living 26,000 years ago. Your tribe has a good camp near a river. The hunting has been decent. Your children are healthy. Life is hard but manageable. Then one morning you wake up and something is wrong. The sun rises, but it's different, dimmer, as if covered by a veil. The air tastes strange, metallic, and within days ash begins to fall from the sky like grey snow. This isn't speculation, by the way. Geological evidence suggests that a massive volcanic eruption may have occurred right before the worst period of the Ice Age. A supervolcano somewhere in the world, throwing so much ash into the atmosphere that it literally blocked out the sun. Picture the panic. You've never seen anything like this. Your elders have never seen anything like this. The ash falls for weeks, covering everything. The temperature drops rapidly. Animals flee in all directions, confused and terrified. Within a single season, your world transforms from difficult to nearly impossible. This is one theory anyway. The truth is, we don't know exactly how the Great Freeze began, and that mystery itself tells us something important about our ancestors. They survived without understanding what was happening to them. Think about that. Today, when the weather changes, we can check our phones, read explanations, understand the science. But these early humans had no idea why their world was ending. No warnings, no explanations. Just the relentless cold and the terrible question, will tomorrow be even worse? Yet they kept going. Let me paint you a picture of what a typical day might have looked like during the worst of the freeze. You wake before dawn in a cave shared with 15 other people, pressed together for warmth. The fire in the center of the cave has burned low during the night, and your job this morning is to keep it alive. You carefully add small sticks, blowing gently, coaxing the flames back to life. This fire cannot go out. If it does, you will all die. Outside, the wind screams like a living thing. You've learned not to go out during these windstorms. Exposed skin freezes in minutes. But the storm has been raging for 3 days now, and your tribe's food supply is running low. Someone has to hunt. Someone always has to hunt. The strongest hunters wrap themselves in every piece of fur and hide available. They take the best weapons, the sharpest spears. You watch them disappear into the white chaos, wondering if they'll return. Hours pass. You tend the fire. The children huddle together, too cold and hungry to play. The elders sit silent, conserving energy. Everyone listens for sounds from outside, hoping to hear the hunters returning. Finally, as darkness begins to fall, you hear voices. The hunters are back, but only 3 of the 5 who left, and they carry no meat. They found nothing. Or rather, they found what looked like mammoth tracks, but lost them in the storm. One hunter fell through ice into a hidden stream and nearly didn't make it out. Another is showing signs of frostbite on his fingers. This is when the hardest decisions have to be made. How much of your stored food can you eat tonight? Do you save more for tomorrow, risking weakness now? Or do you eat more now, gambling that tomorrow's hunt will be successful? There's no right answer. Sometimes tribes that ate sparingly starved slowly. Sometimes tribes that ate well ran out of food before the next successful hunt. The survivors were often just the lucky ones. Or were they? Here's where it gets interesting. Because when archaeologists study the remains of Ice Age settlements, they find something curious. The groups that survived weren't randomly lucky. They had patterns, specific strategies that seemed to work better than others. One strategy was diversification. Tribes that relied on just one food source, like mammoths, were in trouble when those animals migrated or died off. But tribes that ate everything, mammoths when they could get them, but also smaller game, fish, birds, insects, roots, anything remotely edible, those tribes had better survival rates. Another strategy was innovation. Some groups started doing things that had never been done before. They invented new types of shelters, new hunting techniques, new ways to preserve food. But here's the controversial question that archaeologists still debate. Were these innovations born from brilliance or from desperation? Did our ancestors survive because they were smarter than other humans? Or did they just happen to be desperate enough to try crazy ideas that somehow worked? What do you think? Drop a comment and let me know. Was human progress driven by genius or by having nothing left to lose? As you think about that, imagine the sun finally setting on our imagined Ice Age day. The hunters who returned empty-handed sit by the fire, their faces etched with worry. Tomorrow they'll try again. They have no choice. But tonight, in this moment, they're alive. The fire is warm, and somewhere in the back of the cave someone begins to hum a tune, an ancient melody that helps everyone remember, we've survived before, we'll survive again. If you're listening to this as you fall asleep, let that thought comfort you too. You come from an unbroken line of survivors. Every single one of your ancestors made it through the worst that life could throw at them. You carry that strength inside you. Chapter 3: The Lost Ones. Where did they go? Now we come to one of the great mysteries of the Ice Age. A question that haunts archaeologists and keeps them arguing late into the night at conferences around the world. Where did 99% of early humans go? We know the population crashed. The genetic evidence is clear on that. There was what scientists call a bottleneck around 25,000 years ago, where human genetic diversity became extremely limited. This tells us that the total population of humans on Earth dropped to perhaps just a few thousand individuals. But here's the strange part. We don't find nearly enough bodies. Think about it. If 99% of humans died during this period, there should be massive graveyards, enormous collections of bones, evidence of this catastrophic die-off scattered across the continents. But we don't find that. Instead, we find very little. Some scattered remains. Some abandoned settlements, but nothing proportional to the scale of the population collapse. So what happened to them? Theory 1 is the simplest. The ice consumed them. Bodies frozen in glaciers, buried under snow, scattered by wind and animals. The Ice Age was so devastating that it erased the evidence of its own victims. This is probably partly true. Ice is actually excellent at destroying evidence. It grinds bones to powder, scatters remains across huge distances as glaciers move, and leaves very little for archaeologists to find thousands of years later. But some scientists aren't satisfied with this explanation, because we do find some remains from this period, just not nearly enough. Which brings us to theory 2, and this one is more disturbing: cannibalism. Now, before you recoil from that thought, understand that cannibalism in survival situations isn't about evil or savagery, it's about desperation. When you're starving, when your children are dying, when every other food source is gone, humans throughout history have sometimes made the unthinkable choice. And if this happened during the Ice Age, it would explain something: the lack of formal burials from this period. When food is scarce, tribes might not have the luxury of burying their dead. Every calorie mattered, even the terrible ones. Archaeological evidence does suggest that some Ice Age groups engaged in cannibalism. Cut marks on human bones, skulls cracked open to extract brains, long bones split for marrow. All signs that humans were sometimes on the menu. But this still doesn't fully explain where everyone went. Even cannibalism leaves evidence, and we don't find enough. So here's theory 3, and this one is fascinating. Most humans didn't die during the Great Freeze. They transformed. What if the 99% didn't vanish? What if they merged? What if small, desperate tribes started combining, sharing resources, and in the process stopped being distinct genetic groups? Modern humans like to think of ourselves as all one species, but 25,000 years ago, there were actually several types of humans living on Earth. Homo sapiens, yes, but also Neanderthals in Europe, Denisovans in Asia, and possibly other groups we haven't discovered yet. The genetic evidence shows that these groups interbred during exactly this period. Homo sapiens had children with Neanderthals, Denisovans mixed with both, and the result was us. Modern humans carrying DNA from multiple extinct human species. So maybe the 99% didn't die. Maybe they were absorbed. Maybe the Great Freeze didn't destroy human diversity. Maybe it forced human diversity to merge into one super resilient hybrid species. If you're of European or Asian descent, you carry Neanderthal DNA right now. About 2% of your genome came from these Ice Age cousins, which means that in a very real sense, Neanderthals didn't go extinct, they just became part of us. That's a profound thought, isn't it? The people who vanished during the Ice Age might be looking out through your eyes right now, but let's consider one more theory, and this one takes us in a completely different direction. Theory 4. The 99% weren't killed by the cold, they were killed by each other. When resources become scarce, humans don't just compete with nature, we compete with each other, and that competition can turn violent. Archaeological evidence from the Ice Age shows signs of warfare. Mass graves with evidence of violence, fortified settlements, weapons designed specifically for fighting other humans, not hunting animals. As the world froze and food became scarce, did human tribes turn on each other? Did the Great Freeze trigger a great war, with the 1% who survived being not the smartest or strongest, but simply the most ruthless? This is the darkest theory, and it's controversial, but it matches patterns we see throughout history. When civilizations collapse, when resources disappear, humans often turn violent. So which theory is correct? Honestly, probably all of them. Probably some humans froze and left no trace. Probably some tribes resorted to cannibalism in desperation. Probably some groups merged and interbred, and probably some tribes fought and killed each other over the scraps of a dying world. The Great Freeze didn't have just one effect. It had all the effects, playing out in different ways across different continents, with different groups making different choices. The survivors, that precious 1%, were probably the ones who successfully navigated all these dangers, the ones who avoided the worst of the cold, who maintained their humanity even in desperation, who were willing to cooperate with strangers, and who were strong enough to defend themselves when necessary. They had to be everything all at once: innovative, cooperative, resilient, and yes, sometimes ruthless. As you drift towards sleep tonight, think about this. You descend from people who made it through all of that. Whatever challenges you're facing, your ancestors faced worse and survived. If you're enjoying this journey through deep time, hit that like button. It helps more people discover these stories. And remember, these aren't just stories. This is your story. This is where you come from. Coming up next, we'll explore the technology that changed everything. The first true technology humans ever developed, the one that made survival possible. I'm talking about fire. Chapter 4. Fire, the first technology. Let me ask you a question. What's the most important invention in human history? You might say the wheel, or the computer, or the printing press, maybe agriculture or medicine or the steam engine, but all of those came late. Tens of thousands of years after the most important invention of all, fire, not the discovery of fire, lightning has been starting fires since long before humans existed. No, the invention was fire control. the ability to create fire when you need it, maintain it, transport it, and use it as a tool. This invention literally saved humanity during the Great Freeze. Let me take you back to that frozen world and show you what I mean. Imagine you're in a tribe that doesn't have fire control yet. You know what fire is. Sometimes lightning strikes a tree and the tree burns. Sometimes you find natural fires and can warm yourself, but you can't make fire. You can only find it. This is a death sentence during the Ice Age, when a cold front moves in, when temperatures drop below survivable levels. You have no options. You either find a natural fire somewhere or you die. That's it. Now imagine you're in a tribe that has mastered fire creation. You carry with you pieces of flint and pyrite. You know that striking them together creates sparks. You know which types of dried grass and fungus catch sparks best. You know how to build a fire that produces maximum heat with minimum smoke. Suddenly, you're a different kind of creature. You're not subject to nature anymore. You've tamed a piece of it. You can create summer in the middle of winter, light in the middle of darkness, cooked food in a world of raw meat. This is power, real power, the kind that separates humans from every other animal. But here's the fascinating part. Not all humans had this technology. Archaeological evidence suggests that fire control spread slowly, unevenly. Some groups mastered it tens of thousands of years before others, which means that during the Great Freeze some tribes had fire technology and some didn't. Can you guess which ones survived? The ability to create fire wasn't just about warmth, though that was crucial. Fire had dozens of uses that each added to survival chances. Fire could cook meat, which made it safer to eat and easier to digest. This meant you got more calories from the same amount of food. In a world where every calorie counted, this was huge. Fire could harden wooden spear tips, making them sharp enough to penetrate mammoth hide. Better weapons meant more successful hunts. Fire could keep predators away at night. Cave bears, saber-toothed cats, giant wolves, all the megafauna that saw humans as potential meals, they all feared fire. A tribe with a fire had a safe zone, a bubble of protection in a dangerous world. Fire could be used for communication, smoke signals visible for miles, a way to call for help, to warn of danger, to coordinate with other groups. Fire could even be used for medicine. Heat could cauterize wounds, prevent infection. Smoke could preserve meat, making food last longer. Certain plants, when burned, produce smoke that could ease pain or help with breathing problems. But perhaps the most important use of fire wasn't physical at all. It was psychological. Picture a cave during an Ice Age night. Outside, the wind howls. Somewhere in the darkness you hear a sound. Could be a predator, could be another tribe. You don't know. If you're sitting in darkness, fear consumes you. Every sound is a threat. Every shadow is an enemy. Your stress levels spike. You can't sleep. Your children cry. Panic spreads. But if you're sitting around a fire, everything changes. The fire creates a circle of light, of warmth, of safety. You can see each other's faces. The dancing flames are mesmerizing, calming. The warmth relaxes tense muscles. And gathering around the fire becomes a social event, a time for stories and songs and human connection. Fire didn't just keep our ancestors alive physically. It kept them alive mentally and emotionally. Now here's the controversial question. Did fire make us human? Or did being human allow us to use fire? Some anthropologists believe that fire control actually changed our brains. That sitting around fires, cooking food, telling stories, planning hunts, these activities, repeated over thousands of generations, literally rewired our neural pathways and made us smarter. There's evidence for this. Cooked food is easier to digest, which meant our ancestors' guts could get smaller, and the energy that would have gone to digesting raw food could instead go to growing bigger brains. Fire, in this theory, is the reason human brains tripled in size over the last 2 million years. But other scientists argue it backwards. They say we needed bigger brains first before we could figure out fire control. That fire didn't make us smart. Being smart let us master fire. Honestly, it's probably a feedback loop. We got a little smarter, which let us use fire a little better, which made us a little smarter, which let us use fire even better, and so on. Evolution spiraling upward, with fire as the catalyst. What do you think? Could you exist without fire? Could humans have made it through the Ice Age without this technology? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if this deep dive into ancient technology is helping you relax into sleep, hit that subscribe button so you never miss these journeys. Let me leave you with one more thought about fire, something that might help you sleep peacefully tonight. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors gathered around fires just like you might gather around a TV or a dinner table today. Fire was where families came together, where stories were told, where bonds were formed. Some scientists believe that the flickering light of fire, that specific frequency and pattern, is hardwired into our brains as a signal of safety and comfort. That's why people find fires so mesmerizing, why we find candles and fireplaces relaxing. It's a memory, encoded in your DNA, a memory of safety in a dangerous world. So as you close your eyes tonight, imagine that ancient fire. Imagine your ancestors gathered around it, warm and safe despite the howling wind outside. You come from them. You carry their strength. And just like they made it through the darkness, so will you. Coming up, we'll explore the shelters they built, the incredible structures made from mammoth bones that housed entire families through the endless winter. But first, let your mind rest. Let the warmth of that imaginary fire relax your muscles. You're safe. You're warm. You're home. Chapter 5. Shelter in the Bones of Giants. There's something haunting about the mammoth bone huts discovered across Europe and Russia. Something that speaks to both ingenuity and desperation. Picture this. You're walking across the frozen steppe and you come across a structure. At first, you think it's a small hill, a natural formation covered in snow, but as you get closer, you realize what you're seeing. Bones. Hundreds of them. Massive bones arranged in a circular pattern, creating walls 6 feet high. Mammoth skulls, femurs as thick as tree trunks, curved tusks forming archways. All of it covered in animal hides and packed with earth and snow for insulation. This isn't a grave, it's a home. Welcome to Ice Age architecture. The mammoth bone huts are some of the most impressive structures from the Paleolithic era, and they tell us something profound about the humans who built them. They were planners. Think about what it takes to build one of these huts. First, you need to kill mammoths, multiple mammoths. These were animals that stood 12 feet tall and weighed 6 tons. Hunting one was a massive undertaking that required coordination, courage, and skill. Then you need to butcher them, which with stone tools could take days. Then you need to transport the bones to your building site. A single mammoth femur weighs over 100 pounds. You're moving tons of material across ice and snow. Then comes the actual construction. The bones need to be arranged in a specific pattern to create a structurally sound dwelling. The hides need to be properly cured and stretched. The gaps need to be sealed against the wind. This isn't something you throw together in an afternoon. This is a project that takes weeks, maybe months, and requires the coordinated effort of an entire tribe. And here's the kicker. Why bother? Why not just live in a cave? The answer tells us something important. By the height of the Great Freeze, there weren't enough caves. The human population, even though greatly reduced, had spread across the Mammoth Steppe, the vast grasslands that stretched from Europe to Asia. And out there on the open plains, there were no caves, no mountains, no natural shelter at all. If you wanted to survive, you had to build. So humans became architects out of necessity. Archaeological sites across Russia have revealed dozens of these mammoth bone structures. Some are small, perhaps housing a single family. Others are huge, with evidence of 30 or more people living together. The largest one ever found is at a site called Mezherish in Ukraine. This settlement had multiple mammoth bone huts arranged in a cluster, creating what was essentially a village. The main structure used the bones from at least 15 mammoths. 15. Think about the coordination required. Think about the skill. This wasn't primitive. This was sophisticated engineering using the materials available. But here's where it gets really interesting. When archaeologists study these sites carefully, they find something unexpected. Art. The bones aren't just functional, they're decorated. Patterns carved into mammoth tusks, ochre paint on skulls, arrangements that are aesthetic, not just structural. Why would people freezing to death take time to make their homes beautiful? This is one of the great questions about human nature. Even in the worst conditions, even when survival is uncertain, humans create art. We make things beautiful. We care about more than just staying alive. We care about how we live. Some archaeologists think the decorations were religious, meant to honor the spirits of the mammoths whose bones form the homes. Others think they were territorial markers, a way to signal this is our place to other tribes. Still others believe they were simply expressions of human creativity, the same impulse that makes us paint our houses and decorate our apartments today. Maybe it's all of the above. But let me tell you about the most mysterious aspect of these mammoth bone huts. When archaeologists excavate them, they sometimes find something strange buried beneath the floor. Caches of food, preserved meat wrapped in hide, tools that show almost no wear, as if they were new. Valuable items like carved ivory figurines. Why bury valuable resources under your floor? Why create hidden storage? Theory 1. Protection from theft. If other tribes raid your settlement, they'll find the obvious food storage, but the buried caches stay hidden, ensuring your family has something to fall back on. Theory 2. Protection from yourself. If food is too accessible, hungry people might eat it all too quickly, then starve when the next hunt fails. By burying food and making it difficult to access, you force yourself to ration properly. Theory 3, and this one's controversial. Insurance against death. If you die during a hunting trip or from disease, your family can't ask you where you stored the emergency food. So you hide it in a place they'll eventually find. Under the floor they walk on every day. This third theory suggests something profound. These people were planning for the possibility of their own deaths. They were thinking ahead, imagining scenarios, preparing for contingencies. This is advanced cognition. This is the kind of thinking that separates humans from other animals. But not all Ice Age shelters were mammoth bone huts. These massive structures were only possible in areas where mammoths were plentiful. In other regions, humans had to get creative in different ways. Some tribes carved dwellings into the sides of hills, creating semi-subterranean homes that used the earth itself for insulation. Others built lean-tos from wood and hide, temporary structures that could be assembled quickly and left behind when the tribe moved. And yes, some still used caves, but they modified them. They built walls at cave entrances to block wind. They carved ventilation holes in the rock to let smoke escape. They divided large caves into rooms using hide partitions. Humans weren't just living in nature anymore, they were re-engineering it to suit their needs. If you're listening to this as you fall asleep, take a moment to appreciate the shelter you're in, the roof over your head, the walls that block the wind, the warmth surrounding you. These comforts exist because 25,000 years ago, some desperate, freezing humans looked at a pile of mammoth bones and thought, I can build something with that. You descend from people who built homes in a frozen wasteland, who turned bones into shelter, who refused to give up even when the entire world seemed designed to kill them. That same refusal to surrender lives in you. Subscribe if you haven't already. There's so much more of this story to tell. And drop a like if you're finding these journeys into deep time as fascinating as I do. Coming up next, the hunt. We'll follow an Ice Age hunting party as they track the most dangerous prey on Earth. But for now, imagine yourself in one of those mammoth bone huts. The wind howls outside, but you're protected. The fire burns warm. Your tribe surrounds you. You're safe. You're home. Rest now. Chapter 6. The hunt that changed everything. Dawn breaks slowly during the Ice Age. The sun, when it appears at all, rises weak and pale, barely illuminating the endless white landscape. But today, it doesn't matter. Today is a hunting day. Let me take you on that hunt. Let you feel what your ancestors felt. You wake before the sun, your breath clouding in the freezing air of the mammoth bone hut. Around you, other hunters are already stirring, checking their spears, wrapping their feet in extra layers of hide. Today, scouts spotted a mammoth, a lone male separated from his herd, old, maybe injured, vulnerable. This is the moment your tribe has been waiting for. You haven't had a successful mammoth hunt in over a month. Food stores are running low. Children are getting thin. The elders are weakening. Everything depends on today. The lead hunter, a man named something we'll never know, gathers the group. There are 8 of you, all men, all the strongest and most experienced in the tribe. You each carry 2 spears, one for throwing, one for close work. You each carry a knife made of razor-sharp flint. You know the risks. People die on mammoth hunts. Every time. Someone gets trampled or gored by a tusk or freezes during the long tracking hours. But without food, everyone dies. So you go. The landscape you cross is surreal. Endless white broken by occasional dark patches where wind has exposed the frozen ground. The snow crunches under your feet and you have to step carefully. Ice hides everywhere, ready to send you sprawling or worse, crashing through into freezing water below. After 2 hours of walking, you find the mammoth tracks, fresh. Deep impressions in the snow, each one as wide as your whole body. The lead hunter kneels, examines the tracks, touches the snow. He grunts, nods. The mammoth is close, maybe an hour ahead. Your heart starts pounding. This is real now. You follow the tracks, moving faster, your spears ready. Around you, the wind picks up, carrying stinging ice crystals that blur your vision. But you push forward, and then you see it. The mammoth stands at the edge of a frozen lake, using its massive tusks to break through the ice, trying to reach water below. It's huge, bigger than you imagined. Shaggy brown fur covers its body, and even from a distance you can see the steam of its breath in the cold air. The lead hunter makes a series of hand signals. The plan is this. 4 hunters will circle around, approach from downwind, try to drive the mammoth toward the rest of you. If it charges the right direction, you'll have a chance to hit it from multiple angles. If it charges the wrong direction, some of you will die. You take your position, wait. Your hands are shaking, but not from cold, from adrenaline, from fear, from excitement. Minutes pass like hours. Then you hear the shout. The mammoth roars, a sound so deep you feel it in your chest. It's moving, coming toward you. Time slows down. The mammoth appears through the snow. And it's even more massive up close. Its head is enormous, its tusks longer than your entire body. Its eyes are wild, angry, scared. The first hunter throws his spear. It hits the mammoth's shoulder, sinks deep into the shaggy fur. The mammoth roars again, spins, charges toward that hunter. That's when you see your opening. The mammoth's side is exposed. You don't think, you throw. Your spear flies true, hits the mammoth just behind its front leg, aiming for where you know the heart sits deep inside that massive body. The mammoth stumbles. Other spears follow. One hits its throat, another its other shoulder, but the mammoth isn't done. Even wounded, it's deadly. It swings its massive head, and one of your fellow hunters isn't fast enough. The tusk catches him in the chest, sends him flying. He doesn't get up. But the mammoth is dying now. It's falling to its knees, blood staining the snow around it. The lead hunter approaches carefully, delivers the final blow with his second spear, right into the base of the skull. The mammoth collapses. For a moment there's just silence, just the sound of the wind and your own ragged breathing. Then, relief, joy. You did it. You killed a mammoth, but also grief. One of your friends, your tribe member, is dead, killed by the very hunt that will save everyone else. This is the reality of Ice Age survival. Every victory came with a cost. Every meal was paid for in risk. There were no safe choices, only calculated gambles. The work now begins. You have to butcher this mammoth, a process that will take the rest of the day. The entire tribe will come out to help, bringing sleds made from wood and bone to transport the meat. A single mammoth can feed a tribe of 30 people for months, but only if you can preserve the meat properly, only if you can transport it back to camp, only if predators don't steal it. Archaeological evidence tells us that Ice Age humans were incredibly efficient hunters. They used every single part of the animals they killed. Meat for food, fat for energy and lamp fuel, bones for tools and shelter, hides for clothing and covering huts, sinews for binding and sewing. Even the stomach could be used as a water container. Nothing was wasted. Nothing could be wasted. But here's the question that fascinates anthropologists. How did early humans learn to hunt mammoths in the first place? These were the most dangerous animals on Earth. Modern elephants, which are smaller than mammoths, kill more people every year than lions or bears. A mammoth could crush a human with one step, gore them with one tusk swing. The first humans who tried to hunt mammoths must have died. Horribly. Repeatedly. So why keep trying? Why not stick to smaller, safer prey? Because sometimes survival requires risk. Sometimes the safe choice is actually the dangerous one, because slow starvation is worse than a quick death. The tribes that were too cautious, that never took risks, they're the ones who didn't make it. Natural selection didn't favour the careful. It favoured the brave. But it also favoured the smart, because successful mammoth hunting wasn't about bravery alone. It required planning, coordination, communication, and detailed knowledge of animal behaviour. It required humans to think like never before. Some archaeologists believe that mammoth hunting is what pushed human cognition to the next level, that the challenges of taking down megafauna forced our ancestors to develop language, strategy, and social cooperation in ways that changed our brains forever. If this theory is right, then you can thank mammoths for making you human. The challenge of hunting them literally made us smarter. Now, as you listen to this story, safe in your bed, think about this. When was the last time you took a risk? When was the last time you did something that scared you but needed to be done? Your ancestors did that every day. They left their shelters knowing they might not return. They faced down animals that could kill them in seconds. They made impossible choices and lived with the consequences. You come from that courage. It's in your blood, even if modern life rarely demands you use it. If this journey is resonating with you, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Share this video with someone who needs to remember how strong humans can be, and leave a comment. What's the bravest thing you've ever done? Coming up, we'll explore the tribe itself, the social bonds that made survival possible. Because humans didn't make it through the Ice Age alone. We made it together, but right now, close your eyes. Feel the satisfaction of the successful hunt. Feel the warmth of knowing your tribe is safe for another month. You made it. You survived. Rest now, brave hunter. You've earned it. Chapter 7. The Tribe. Survival through connection. Humans are not meant to be alone. This isn't philosophy, it's biology. Our brains are literally wired for social connection. Isolation for humans is a form of torture that causes measurable psychological and physical damage. But during the Ice Age, being social wasn't just about mental health. It was about literal survival. Let me paint you a picture of what tribe life might have looked like during the Great Freeze. Imagine your tribe consists of about 30 people. Any smaller, and you don't have enough hunters to take down large game or enough people to defend against threats. Any larger, and you can't find enough food to feed everyone. 30 seems to be the magic number. Archaeological evidence from Ice Age sites consistently shows settlements sized for groups of 25 to 40 people. Now, these 30 people aren't random strangers thrown together. They're family, extended family, but family nonetheless. Grandparents, parents, children, aunts, uncles, cousins. Everyone is related to everyone else in multiple ways. This creates something important: trust. In a world where danger lurks everywhere, where food is scarce and the cold can kill in hours, you need to know that the people around you have your back. You need to be absolutely certain that the person watching your children while you hunt won't abandon them, that the person tending the fire won't let it die. Family bonds create that certainty. Not perfectly. Humans are still human, with all our flaws and conflicts, but better than any other system. Here's how a typical day in the tribe might be organized. The strongest hunters, usually men between ages 20 and 40, are responsible for tracking and killing large game. This is the most dangerous job, but also the most prestigious. Successful hunters are celebrated, their stories told around the fire. The gatherers, often women but sometimes older men or young boys, search for anything edible: roots, berries, when available, bird eggs, insects, small animals. During the Ice Age, gathering was actually harder than hunting in many ways, because edible plants were so scarce. The firekeepers, usually older women or those unable to hunt, maintain the fires continuously. This seems like a simple job, but it's actually crucial. Fire technology isn't automatic. It requires constant attention. Let the fire die, and you might not be able to restart it. The crafters make and repair tools, clothing and shelter. They work with stone, bone, wood and hide, creating everything the tribe needs to survive. This requires tremendous skill and years of training. The elders provide knowledge. They remember previous winters, previous hunts. They know which plants are edible and which are poison. They remember where water can be found, even in winter. They are, quite literally, the tribe's database. And the children are everyone's responsibility. They're protected, taught, and cherished because they represent the future. A tribe without children is a tribe that's already dead. But here's what's fascinating. This division of labor wasn't rigid. Modern hunter-gatherer societies, which probably resemble Ice Age tribes in many ways, show tremendous flexibility in roles. Men who are better at crafting than hunting do craft work. Women who excel at hunting go on hunts. Age and ability matter more than gender. The stereotype of man the hunter, woman the gatherer is oversimplified. Ice Age humans needed everyone to be capable of everything because circumstances changed constantly. If the best hunter gets injured, someone else has to step up. If the primary firekeeper dies, others need to know how to maintain the flame. Specialization is good, but not at the cost of flexibility. This flexibility probably saved lives. Rigid societies where people can only do one job are vulnerable, but adaptable societies where people can shift roles as needed are resilient. Now let's talk about something that archaeologists find traces of but struggle to fully understand: Ice Age social culture. We know they had music. Bone flutes have been found dating back 40,000 years. We know they had art, cave paintings, carved figurines, decorated tools. We know they had ritual, burial sites with carefully arranged grave goods, ochre-painted bones, ceremonial objects. All of this tells us that Ice Age humans had rich inner lives. They weren't just surviving, they were living, creating meaning, building culture. Why does this matter? Because culture itself is a survival tool. Shared stories create shared identity. When you see yourself as part of a tribe, part of a tradition, you're more likely to sacrifice for the group, to share food even when you're hungry, to risk your life to save a tribe member. Culture creates bonds stronger than simple self-interest. Music and art provide psychological comfort in harsh times. They give people something to look forward to, something beautiful in a brutal world. Ritual creates structure and predictability when everything else is uncertain. If you perform the same ceremony before every hunt, it gives you a sense of control, even if that control is illusory. These aren't luxuries. In the context of Ice Age survival, culture was as important as fire and shelter. But tribe life wasn't perfect. Conflicts happened. Resources were sometimes scarce enough that sharing created resentment. Strong personalities clashed. Love triangles caused drama. People got jealous, angry, bitter. Humans were human, even 25,000 years ago. The difference is that during the Ice Age, you couldn't just leave if you didn't like someone. You were stuck with your tribe. Walk away, and you'd die alone in the cold. So humans had to develop conflict resolution strategies. Ways to air grievances without destroying group cohesion. Ways to punish without expelling. Ways to forgive and move forward. Archaeological evidence suggests that some tribes had formal dispute resolution processes, councils of elders who mediated conflicts, rituals of apology and reconciliation. In other words, Ice Age humans invented social technology as sophisticated as their physical technology. Here's a question for you. In your modern life, how strong are your social bonds? Could you survive a crisis with the people around you? Do you have a tribe? Many people today are more isolated than any Ice Age human ever was. We live alone, work with strangers, barely know our neighbours. From an evolutionary perspective, this is bizarre and unhealthy. Maybe that's why these stories of ancient tribes resonate. Maybe part of us remembers what we lost. If you're enjoying this deep dive into human connection, subscribe to the channel and share this video with your tribe, whoever they are. Leave a comment telling me about your people. Who would you survive the Ice Age with? Coming up, we'll explore something mysterious, the spiritual life of Ice Age humans. What did they believe? How did they make sense of their world? But for now, rest in this thought. You are never truly alone. You carry the voices of your ancestors inside you, their experiences, their knowledge, their love. You're the latest member of a tribe 30,000 generations strong. Sleep peacefully, knowing you belong to something greater than yourself. You're part of the human family, and we take care of our own. Chapter 8. Voices in the Darkness. Deep in a cave in southern France, there's a handprint on the wall. It's been there for 27,000 years. Someone during the height of the Ice Age pressed their hand against the stone, blew pigment around it and left their mark. Was it art? A signature? A prayer? We'll never know. But standing in that cave, looking at that handprint, you feel something profound. A connection across time. A message from one human to another. I was here. I existed. I mattered. This is where we enter the spiritual world of Ice Age humans. They left us incredible clues about their inner lives, but very little explanation. We have to interpret, to guess, to wonder. Let's start with what we know for certain. Ice Age humans buried their dead. Not always, but often enough that it clearly wasn't random. Bodies were placed in specific positions, often curled like sleeping children. They were covered with ochre, a red pigment that might have symbolized blood or life, and they were buried with grave goods, tools, jewelry, food, weapons. Why bury someone with their possessions? Why waste valuable resources on the dead? The obvious answer: they believed in an afterlife. They thought the dead person would need those tools in the next world. But maybe it's more nuanced than that. Maybe grave goods were messages. Maybe burying someone with their favorite tool was a way of saying, "This is who you were, this is what you did, this is how we'll remember you." The goods themselves tell stories. A hunter buried with their best spear. A crafter buried with their tools. A woman buried with shells from the sea, traded from hundreds of miles away, suggesting she was a trader or someone of high status. Ice Age humans had individual identities, recognized in both life and death. They also had beliefs about the natural world that we can only glimpse. Cave art provides the best window. Images of animals painted in stunning detail. Horses, bison, mammoths, cave lions, but also stranger things, human-animal hybrids, geometric patterns, symbols whose meaning is lost to time. Some archaeologists believe these paintings were shamanic, created by spiritual leaders in trance states, attempting to communicate with the spirit world or ensure successful hunts. Others think they were educational, teaching young hunters what animals looked like and where to aim for a killing blow. Still others suggest they were simply art for art's sake, expressions of beauty and creativity. Probably, all of these are partly right, but there's something about these cave paintings that's worth noting. They're often deep inside caves, miles from the entrance, in chambers that require crawling through tight passages to reach, in darkness so complete that you need fire just to see the walls. Why paint where no one will easily see? This suggests the paintings weren't meant for human audiences primarily. They were meant for something else. The spirits of animals, the gods of the hunt, the earth itself. Ice Age humans, it seems, believed in a world beyond the physical, a world of spirits and forces that influence their lives. And honestly, can you blame them? Imagine living through an endless winter. The world is dying around you. Animals disappear. The sun grows weaker. Your children are hungry. Your elders are coughing and weak. You need to believe in something. You need to believe there's a reason for all this suffering, that some force, somewhere, has a plan. Prayer and ritual provide psychological comfort. They give you a sense of control when everything feels out of control. Before a hunt, you perform a ritual, paint yourself with ochre, dance around the fire, ask the animal spirits for success. Does this actually help you hunt better? Scientifically, no, but psychologically, absolutely. It focuses your mind, calms your nerves, builds confidence, strengthens group cohesion as everyone performs the ritual together. And for Ice Age humans with no understanding of science or statistics, when a hunt succeeded after a ritual, that seemed like proof the ritual worked. So rituals spread, became more complex, became central to cultural identity. We also have evidence of something darker, human sacrifice. Not common, not widespread, but it happened. Bodies have been found buried in ways that suggest they were killed deliberately, possibly as offerings to appease angry gods or ensure the tribe's survival. This is uncomfortable to think about, but in desperate times, humans sometimes make desperate choices. If your tribe is starving, if the game has disappeared, if children are dying, and someone suggests that sacrificing one person might save everyone else. Some tribes made that choice. It's easy to judge from our comfortable modern perspective, but put yourself there, in the cold, in the dark, desperate. Would you be certain you'd make the moral choice? Here's a question that keeps archaeologists up at night. Did Ice Age humans have language as complex as ours? We know they communicated. We know they had culture, which requires some form of language. But did they have grammar, syntax, abstract concepts? The answer seems to be yes. The sophistication of their tools, their art, their social organization all suggest complex thought, which requires complex language. They probably told stories around their fires, stories about great hunts, about ancestors, about how the world began, about why we're here. These stories are lost to time, we'll never hear them, but we can imagine. An elder sitting by the fire speaking to children gathered around, telling them about the first humans who learned to make fire from the sun god, about the great mammoth who taught humans to be brave, about the winter that never ended and how only the strongest survived. The children listen, eyes wide, absorbing not just information but identity, learning who they are, where they come from, what it means to be human. This is how knowledge passes through generations. This is how culture survives. As you drift towards sleep tonight, imagine yourself around that fire. Imagine the elder's voice, speaking in a language you don't understand but somehow feel in your bones. You belong to this story. You are part of this lineage. The blood that kept your ancestors alive through the frozen darkness flows in your veins right now. If you're finding comfort in these ancient stories, subscribe and hit the notification bell, and share this with someone who might need to hear it. Leave a comment. What do you believe in? What gives your life meaning? Coming up, we'll explore one of the greatest mysteries of the Ice Age, how humans adapted biologically to the cold, the physical changes that made survival possible, But for now, rest. Let the voices of your ancestors sing you to sleep. You are remembered, you are loved, you are never alone. Chapter 9. The Great Mystery of Adaptation. Here's a puzzle that fascinates evolutionary biologists. The Great Freeze lasted about 20,000 years. That's a long time in human terms, but in evolutionary terms it's the blink of an eye. Evolution usually takes millions of years to produce significant physical changes. Yet somehow, during this relatively brief period, humans adapted to conditions that should have killed us. How? Let's explore the physical changes that helped the 1% survive. First, body shape. Modern humans living in cold climates like the Inuit of the Arctic tend to have stockier builds, shorter limbs, and more compact bodies. This is called Allen's rule. Animals in cold environments evolve to minimize surface area, which reduces heat loss. Did Ice Age humans develop this trait? Probably, at least partially. Neanderthals, who lived through earlier ice ages, had very stocky builds. Some Homo sapiens groups seem to have developed similar adaptations during the Great Freeze, but 20,000 years isn't enough time for major skeletal changes. So the stockiness we see in modern Arctic populations is likely from genetic variations that already existed, which were naturally selected for during the Ice Age. In other words, humans didn't evolve new body types. They just survived better if they happened to have the right existing body type. Second, metabolism. When you're constantly cold, your body burns more calories just to maintain temperature. Ice Age humans needed extraordinarily high-calorie diets. Archaeological evidence suggests they consume between 4,000 and 6,000 calories per day. For comparison, modern humans typically need 2,000 to 2,500 calories. Where did all those calories come from? Fat. Lots and lots of animal fat. The bone marrow we mentioned earlier, the blubber from seals and other marine mammals, the fat deposits in mammoths. Ice Age diets were probably 60 to 70% fat. And here's the interesting part. Humans who could efficiently process this high-fat diet survived better, which means there was likely genetic selection for specific metabolic traits. Modern populations descended from Ice Age survivors, like the Inuit, have genetic adaptations that let them thrive on high-fat, low-carb diets that would make other populations sick. The Ice Age, in effect, created the original paleo diet and selected for humans whose bodies could handle it. Third, skin pigmentation. This one's controversial, but fascinating. Modern Europeans have lighter skin than most other human populations. Why? The leading theory? Vitamin D. In tropical regions, humans get plenty of vitamin D from sun exposure. But during the Ice Age in northern regions where sun is scarce and people are covered in heavy clothing, vitamin D deficiency becomes a serious problem. It causes bone weakness, immune system problems, and in pregnant women complications that can kill both mother and child. Lighter skin produces vitamin D more efficiently with less sun exposure. So during the Ice Age in northern regions, humans with naturally lighter skin, a genetic variant that already existed, survived better. Over 20,000 years, the percentage of light-skinned individuals in these populations increased dramatically. This is natural selection in action, and it happened fast enough that we can see it in the genetic record. But physical adaptations alone don't explain Ice Age survival. There's something else, something that might be even more important: behavioral flexibility. Humans are uniquely adaptable, not because our bodies change quickly, but because our behavior does. We can't grow fur when it gets cold, but we can kill an animal and wear its fur. We can't hibernate to conserve energy, but we can store food and ration it carefully, We can't naturally see in the dark, but we can carry torches and extend our waking hours. This behavioral flexibility, driven by intelligence and creativity, let humans survive in environments we're not physically designed for. No other species has this ability to the degree humans do. Polar bears survive in the Arctic because they evolved for it over millions of years. Humans survive in the Arctic because we invented parkas last week. Okay, not literally last week, but you get the point. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Some scientists believe the Ice Age didn't just select for humans who could survive cold. It selected for humans who were smart, creative, and socially cooperative, because the challenges of the Ice Age couldn't be solved by individuals. They required group effort, planning, communication, innovation. The tribes that survived were the ones with the smartest, most cooperative members, which means over 20,000 years there was constant evolutionary pressure for intelligence and social skills. This might be why humans who lived after the Ice Age seem more cognitively advanced than those before it. Why culture and technology exploded in complexity after the freeze ended. The Ice Age, in this view, wasn't just a disaster that killed 99% of humans. It was a crucible that forged the survivors into something new. A supercharged version of humanity. Smarter, more creative, more resilient. You are the descendant of that supercharged version. The genes that made your ancestors intelligent enough to survive the Ice Age are in you right now, in every cell. When you solve a problem, when you think creatively, when you work with others to achieve something difficult, you're using abilities that were refined in the frozen darkness 25,000 years ago. Here's my question for you. What are you doing with this inheritance? Are you using your intelligence, your creativity, your ability to connect with others? Or have you forgotten what you're capable of? Share this video if it's making you think differently about human potential. Subscribe if you want more deep dives into where we come from and what we're capable of. And comment below. What's the most creative solution you've ever come up with to a problem? Coming up next, we'll explore the end of the Great Freeze, the moment when the ice began to melt and the world transformed once again. But first, let that knowledge settle into your mind. You're the product of 20,000 years of natural selection for intelligence and resilience. You are, quite literally, descended from the smartest, strongest, most adaptable humans who ever lived. Never forget that. Rest now. Let your remarkable brain repair and restore itself. You're incredible, even if you don't always feel like it. Sleep well, survivor. Chapter 10. When the ice began to weep. Imagine waking up one morning, 15,000 years ago, and noticing something strange. Water. Just a trickle, running down the side of an ice wall that's been frozen solid for as long as anyone can remember. Just a few drops, glistening in the sunlight. But it's there, and it's flowing. The ice is melting. The Great Freeze is ending. This moment, this first sign that the world might survive, must have been both exhilarating and terrifying for the humans who witnessed it. Exhilarating because warmth was returning. Food would become more plentiful. Survival would get easier. Terrifying because the only world they knew was ending. The strategies that kept them alive for hundreds of generations might not work anymore. Change, even positive change, is frightening. The thaw happened slowly. Not over years, but over thousands of years. Glaciers retreated inch by inch. Summers became slightly warmer. Springs arrived a few days earlier each year. For any individual human, the change was barely noticeable, but across generations the transformation was total. As the ice retreated, it revealed land that had been buried for millennia. Fresh grasslands appeared, forests began to grow. Rivers flowed where only ice had stood, and into these new lands humans followed. The thaw created an explosion of opportunity. Suddenly there was more territory, more food, more resources. The human population, which had been bottlenecked down to a few thousand during the worst of the freeze, began to grow again. But growth brought new challenges. During the freeze, survival required cooperation. Tribes stayed small, stayed tight-knit, because resources were too scarce to support larger groups. But with the thaw, larger populations became possible, and with larger populations came hierarchy, specialization, and eventually inequality. This is one of the great transitions in human history, the moment when we stopped being purely survival-focused and started building civilizations. Archaeological evidence shows that around 12,000 years ago, humans in several parts of the world independently invented agriculture. Why? Because the warming climate made it possible. Seeds that would have frozen in Ice Age soil could now germinate. Plants that humans had eaten wild for millennia could now be cultivated intentionally. The first farms were probably accidents. Someone notices that seeds dropped near camp grow into new plants. Someone realizes that if you save seeds and plant them deliberately, you can ensure a food supply. This seems obvious to us now. But it was revolutionary then. For the first time in human history, food became something you could control, not just something you hoped to find. But agriculture had consequences nobody anticipated. Hunter-gatherers are mobile, they follow the food. This limits how much stuff they can accumulate, which means they stay relatively equal. Nobody can be much richer than anyone else when everything you own has to be carried on your back. But farmers are stationary. They build permanent homes, they accumulate possessions, and crucially they produce surplus food. Surplus changes everything. If you have more food than you need, you can trade it. You can support people who don't farm, who instead specialize in other skills. You can have full-time toolmakers, artists, religious leaders, warriors, and you can have people who control the surplus, who decide how it's distributed. Chiefs, kings, rulers. Inequality is born. This isn't a moral judgment, it's a historical observation. Hunter-gatherer societies are generally egalitarian. Agricultural societies are generally hierarchical. The thaw made agriculture possible. Agriculture made civilization possible. And civilization, for better and worse, is what we've been building ever since. But let's not race ahead too fast. Let's stay in that moment of transition, when the ice was melting but agriculture hadn't yet been invented. This period, roughly 15 to 12,000 years ago, might have been the best time to be human in all of prehistory. The climate was warming, making survival easier. But populations were still small, making resources plentiful. Humans had developed sophisticated tools and knowledge, but hadn't yet developed the conflicts and inequalities that would come with larger societies. Some archaeologists call this period the original affluent society. Hunter-gatherers who only needed to work a few hours a day to meet their needs, spending the rest of their time socializing, playing, creating art. If this is accurate, it suggests something provocative. Progress isn't always progress. We like to think human history is a straight line from primitive to advanced, from struggling to thriving. But maybe it's more complicated. Maybe Ice Age humans, once they made it through the worst of the freeze, achieved a kind of balance that we've since lost in our rush towards civilization. Here's a controversial question. Were your ancestors happier then than you are now? They worked less, had stronger community bonds, spent more time in nature, had clear purpose and meaning in their lives. But they also had shorter lifespans, higher infant mortality, no medicine, constant physical discomfort. Which life is better? The brief, intense, connected life of a hunter-gatherer. Or the long, comfortable, often isolated life of a modern human? There's no right answer, but it's worth thinking about. Share your thoughts in the comments, and if this journey through time is giving you perspective on your own life, hit that like button and subscribe. As the thaw continued, the megafauna began to disappear. Mammoths, giant sloths, saber-toothed cats, all the massive Ice Age animals that had dominated the landscape started going extinct. Why? Climate change is part of it. As the world warmed, their habitats changed faster than they could adapt. But humans are part of it too. We were very good at hunting by this point, and these large animals, which had never faced human hunters before, were easy prey. The combination of climate change and human hunting pressure drove many species to extinction. This is the first time humans significantly altered the global ecosystem. We'd been part of nature for our entire existence, but as the Ice Age ended, we started to become something different, a force of nature ourselves, capable of reshaping the world. That power has only grown since then. Today, we're literally changing the climate of the entire planet. The seeds of that power were planted in the thaw, when humans first realized we could shape our environment instead of just surviving in it. Now, as you prepare for sleep, think about this. You live in a warm world because the ice melted 15,000 years ago. Every comfort you have, every city and farm and road, exists because of that thaw. But you also live in a world facing new challenges: climate change, overpopulation, environmental destruction. In a very real sense, we're approaching another great transition, another moment when humanity has to adapt or face catastrophic consequences. The question is, do we still have that Ice Age resilience, that capacity to change, to innovate, to survive anything? I think we do, because you carry it inside you. The genes, the instincts, the fundamental human stubborn refusal to give up. Your ancestors survived the Great Freeze. You can survive whatever comes next. Sleep well, carrying that knowledge. The ice has melted. The world is warm. You're safe. For now, rest. Chapter 11. The Seeds of Tomorrow. We're coming to the end of our journey through the Ice Age, but in many ways we're just beginning to understand what it means. The survivors of the Great Freeze didn't just endure, they laid the foundation for everything that came after. Every city, every farm, every piece of technology, every artwork, every story, it all traces back to those frozen caves where desperate humans refused to give up. Let me bring this full circle. Remember at the beginning when I asked what happened to the 99% who didn't survive? Now you understand. Some froze, some starved, some were killed by predators or other humans, some were absorbed through interbreeding into the 1% who made it. But in a deeper sense, they didn't disappear. They're part of you. Because the 1% who survived carried the memories of the 99%. Carried their innovations, their knowledge, their DNA in some cases. Nothing was truly lost. Everything was transformed. The Great Freeze was the crucible that forged modern humanity. It killed 99% of us, yes. But it made the survivors into something unprecedented. A species capable of living anywhere, of adapting to anything, of turning the harshest environments into homes. We are the only species in Earth's history to achieve this level of adaptability. And we did it not through physical evolution, but through intelligence, creativity, and cooperation. The tools those Ice Age humans developed, fire control, shelter construction, sophisticated hunting strategies, they seem primitive to us now. But they represented the absolute cutting edge of technology at the time, and more importantly, They represented a new way of thinking, a recognition that humans didn't have to accept the world as it was. We could change it, improve it, bend it to our will. This is both humanity's greatest strength and our greatest danger. The same ingenuity that got us through the Ice Age now threatens us with nuclear weapons, climate change, and ecological collapse. The same cooperation that bound Ice Age tribes together now struggles to unite our modern global society. The same adaptability that let our ancestors survive in frozen wastelands now manifests as the ability to adapt to increasingly dystopian conditions instead of fixing them. We're still the same species that survived the Great Freeze. We have the same capacities, the same potential. The question is, what will we do with it? As you drift into sleep tonight, I want you to carry one final thought. You're not a passive observer of history. You're history in motion. You're the latest chapter in a story that stretches back hundreds of thousands of years. Every choice you make, every challenge you face, every moment of courage or kindness or creativity, you're adding to that story. You're shaping what humans will become. The survivors of the Ice Age didn't know they were building civilization. They just knew they had to make it through another day, feed their children, keep the fire alive. You're doing the same thing, in your own way, getting through your days, taking care of your people, keeping your own fires alive, whatever form they take, and that's enough. That's how history is made, one day at a time, one person at a time. Before you go, before sleep claims you, do me one favor. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Not for me, but for yourself. Because these journeys into the past, these reminders of where we come from and what we're capable of, you might need them on hard days. On days when you feel weak or lost or overwhelmed, come back to these stories. Remember that you descend from people who survived the impossible, and leave a comment telling me what you're taking away from this journey. What resonated with you? What surprised you? What will you remember? I read every comment. Your thoughts matter to me. Now, let me leave you with one final image. Imagine you're standing outside that mammoth bone hut 25,000 years ago. The fire inside is warm. Your tribe is safe. The stars above are impossibly bright in the unpolluted sky. You're alive against all odds. Your ancestors made it possible, and your descendants depend on you to keep going. You're part of the chain, connecting past to future. Never break that chain. Never give up. No matter how cold it gets, no matter how dark, no matter how impossible it seems, you come from survivors, so survive. The world needs you. Good night, friend. Sleep deeply. Dream of fire and warmth and safety. And when you wake, remember who you are. You're the child of the Great Freeze. You're the heir to 25,000 years of human resilience. You're stronger than you know. Rest now. Tomorrow, you continue the story.